a giant beaver, a circus hippo, and a box of fresh kolaches have in common? You're about to find out.
I've got 4 hours of Texas highway in front of me and a feeling that today might hold a few surprises. So I thought we'd hit the road together and see what finds us along the way. Welcome to Whisked Away by Angela. Here you'll come with me on all my adventures, both big and small, and see what inspires me along the way. There is always something about a day that really stands out, something that really sticks with me. So I head into the kitchen and I create a dish inspired by wherever the day leads me. If you love great food, new experiences, and living life fully, you are in the right place. And I'm so glad you're here.
One of my favorite things about Texas is that there's always something interesting just off the highway. Tiny towns, roadside attractions, good food everywhere, and usually at least one thing you weren't expecting. My first stop was Buc-ee's because no Texas road trip is complete without Buc-ee's. If you've never been, imagine a convenience store. Now make it enormous. Add brisket, add fudge, and add enough beef jerky to feed a small country. Honestly, it's less of a gas station and more of a Texas experience. I came for the gas. I left with jerky. That is exactly how Buc-ee's works. Waco wasn't really a stop today, more of a pass-through, but road trips have a way of making you notice things differently. A beautiful church, an old building, a mural, nothing life-changing, just little moments that make the drive more interesting. Eventually, I made it to West, a small town with deep Czech roots and a reputation that stretches far beyond its size. For generations, people have been stopping here for kolaches, including plenty of Texans who will happily drive out of their way just to get one. West was settled by Czech immigrants in the late 1800s. They brought recipes and traditions that are still part of everyday life here today. And then there's the debate, because there is the Czech Stop, but directly across the highway sits Slovacek's, the other famous kolache stop. If you're from Texas, you already have a favorite. There's a long-standing debate about which side of the highway is better, and I'm staying completely out of that. Some things are worth waiting for. A fresh kolache isn't one of them. This was meant to be eaten in the car.
This is a genuine Texas kolache from the Czech Stop right here. This is blueberry cream cheese. It tastes amazing. I couldn't wait until the camera was on. I already took a bite. But if you ever come through Central Texas, this is a mandatory stop. Your taste buds need to experience this one. So good. When I saw that billboard, I was so excited. This right here, this is the pinnacle of my road trip right here. This kolache.
And if Texas wasn't quirky enough already, my last stop of the day was Hutto, a town that has fully embraced the hippo. Apparently, the story goes back to the early 1900s when a circus train stopped there and one of the hippos escaped into Cottonwood Creek. The town never forgot it. And judging by the number of hippos around town, they're still not over it. The sun was getting low. The coffee was long gone. The bakery box sitting beside me, I was heading home. The day started with an errand and turned into an adventure. That's my life. I love it. The Czech families who settled west brought these recipes with them generations ago. Today they're woven into the fabric of Texas, and after spending some of my day eating them, I completely understand why. Here we are back in the kitchen, and I'm really excited about today because I love kolaches. I was introduced to them when I first moved to Texas, And all my friends and neighbors were all excited about these sweet little Danishes called Kolaches, and they're really good. And so I'm so glad that I saw the Czech Stop and stopped in so that I can share this recipe with you today. And this is the first time I've made these, but I've wanted to for a long time. So let's get started. We're going to start with 3½ cups of all-purpose flour. And we're going to put that directly into our mixing bowl. To that, we are going to add 1/2 cup of sugar. And yes, we're going to add 1½ teaspoons of yeast directly to the flour and sugar mixture. And with a whisk, we're just going to mix that around. Okay, that is nicely mixed. Now I have 1 cup of milk that I've heated to about 100 degrees. To that, I'm going to add 2 egg yolks. And I'm going to also add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And we're going to mix this until it is well mixed. And because this milk is warm, we're going to add this directly to our flour, sugar, and yeast mixture. We're going to put that on our mixer using a stand mixer to help with this mixing, because this dough is going to be pretty heavy duty. And I'm going to fit this with a dough hook. And now I'm going to turn this on just a little bit. I'm going to mix this for about a minute until everything's well mixed. All that flour is about incorporated now. So we are going to add to this mixture our 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We're also going to add our butter now. Now we're going to turn this up to medium high, and we're going to let that knead for about 8 minutes. And if the butter happens to stick to the side, just go ahead, turn it off, scrape your butter down, and continue with the kneading. And you might have to do that a couple of times until you have all that butter incorporated. It's been 8 minutes and our dough is nice and smooth and ready. So we're going to remove our dough, nice, soft, completely together. We're going to put it in a separate bowl. We are going to cover our bowl with plastic wrap. Tighten it all around it. And then we're going to put this in a nice warm spot until it doubles in size, about 1.5 hours. While our dough is rising, let's go ahead and make our fillings. And we're going to start with a very authentic Czech filling, poppy seed. We're going to start with 2 cups of poppy seeds, and we have to grind these. And we're going to do so in a coffee grinder. We're going to do it in small batches, and we're going to grind just until there's no gritty texture left, but we don't want to over grind. So this is going to take a minute because you do have to do this in small batches, like I said. So our poppy seeds are ground. We're going to put the poppy seeds, the 2 cups brown poppy seeds, in a saucepan, and to that we're going to add 1 cup of milk. Stir this around. So to the 2 cups of poppy seeds, I've added 1 cup of milk, and we're just going to stir this around over medium heat. I'm going to keep stirring so that the milk does not burn. We're going to add 1/2 cup of sugar. We're going to add a 1/3 cup of jam, and I picked red plum. Popular for this dish is also prune or strawberry, but I thought plum would be a nice addition. And then we are going to zest about 1/2 lemon. We're going to keep stirring here, and we're going to stir and heat this up for about 10 minutes until our poppy seeds are nice and softened. Let's check our dough. Oh, great. It has definitely doubled in size. I've lightly floured our surface here. Let's turn our dough out. Oh, look at that. That is beautiful. So I just want to turn my edges in here just a touch. And I'm going to knead this just a small amount. And I'm going to just keep turning under the seam, making a seam on the bottom here. And there we go. That is nice. Just, that's about all it's going to take. And I'm going to actually put this back in the bowl. We're going to cover the bowl with a dish towel, and we're going to let that rest for about 10 minutes. So our dough is resting for the 10 minutes, and let's go ahead and prepare our sweet cheese filling. We're going to use 1 pound of farmer's cheese. We have 3/4 cups of powdered sugar. To that, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. We need 1 egg yolk. And then to make the flavor nice, we're going to add about a teaspoon of real vanilla extract, and I'm going to add the zest of 1 lemon. This will brighten up that flavor. Now I'm just going to use a ball whisk and mix this all together until it is nice and smooth. And it's going to take a minute, but it's going to be well worth it. I love a sweet cheese filling. In true Kolache style, we're also going to prepare a beautiful streusel topping. So I'm going to add flour, sugar, and butter in one bowl. And with a pastry blender, I'm just going to cut the butter into the sugar and flour until I have a nice fine crumb. So our dough has rested for about 10 minutes. And now we're going to divide it up into about 16 different pieces. And what we're going to do is we're going to measure it out to make sure we have the same size kolaches. And we want to do just under 2 ounces. And we're just going to take our 2 ounces. We're going to knead it into a nice little ball like this. So we have a nice little tucked under section. And we're going to put it on a parchment lined cookie sheet. So now we have 16 perfectly little round balls, and we need to rest these little dough balls one more time, and we're going to rest them for about 30 minutes with the tea towel covering them. It has now been 30 minutes. So we're going to take the tea towels off of our little round kolaches, and they have puffed up to a nice size. Now we have to make that little indention in them for the filling. And you can use any type of press. I'm going to actually use my espresso press because that's the perfect size. Now, I don't want to just press this in there because I don't want it sticking. So I'm actually going to use a cloth, and this is just a nice cotton napkin that I'm using, lightweight, and I'm going to dip it. I'm going to wrap it around tightly. I'm going to dip it in flour, just like that. And then I'm going to press it straight down into our kolaches. And what I'm doing is I'm making a well, and I want the edges to puff up around that well so that I have a little base to hold our filling. And I'm just going to continue to work through that right in the center and straight down. Nice press, make a little circular motion to help well up those sides. Ooh, that looks good. Okay, so I think we're about ready. So what we want to do first is we want to do an egg wash on the outer edges of each kolache so that they get a beautiful, nice golden brown when they bake. So we're just going to take a fine brush, a small brush, and we're going to brush those edges. There's nothing quick about making kolaches. It is time consuming and tedious, but it will be well worth it. Now it is time to fill our poppy seed kolaches. I'm going to stir up the cool. Now this needs to be cooled. I'm going to stir up our poppy seed filling. I'm going to take a tablespoon There we go. We got a nice little well of poppy seeds there. We want to make sure that we have plenty of filling, but we don't want to overfill. We want to make them nice and clean as possible. Okay, that looks really good. Now, in Czech tradition, we want to make these things look absolutely beautiful. So I have some blanched almonds. I'm just gonna put a little blanched almonds, make a little design on each one. Use your creativity here. And then on top of these, I'm gonna double down and I'm gonna add a little bit of our streusel topping just over the top, just to give a little added texture and a little added sweetness. Some of them I won't put the blanched almonds on in case I have any people who can't do the nuts. And then I'm gonna leave 2 of them without the strudel topping. So there's our poppy seed kolaches, ready for the oven. Now my absolute favorite, the cheese filled. And I'm actually gonna do part of these cheese filled plain, and I'm gonna do part of these cheese filled fresh blueberries. I love blueberries, and you can use any seasonal fruit that you would like if you want to do a fruit and cheese combo, but every one of these is going to have cheese. And this is a very traditional Czech filling. So in a few of these, I'm just gonna add our streusel, and I'm gonna add a little bit more of the streusel on these than I did on the poppy seed. 3 without the blueberries. I'm just gonna place these guys just here and there. Just a blueberry here, blueberry there. And as they bake, they're gonna soften and open up. And these are gonna be so good. These are the ones that I am really looking forward to. Okay, each one has about 4 blueberries. And I am going to add streusel on top of these guys too. Cheese kolaches are ready to bake. Oh my goodness, these look great. Let me try one. These are actually for a group of friends, but I'm gonna try one and let you know how they taste. Cheese and blueberry. I'm pretty proud of this. This is delicious. I could serve this to a true Texan and they would like this kolache. Tonight I'm winding down from what turned out to be a really fun day. It was nothing monumental, just a road trip filled with tiny moments that I really enjoyed. And somewhere between the giant Texas flags waving over the highway, eating that kolache without a napkin in sight, and miles of open roads stretching out in front of me, I realized something. I think I've become a real Texan. Until next time, eat deliciously, live fabulously, and thank you for letting me whisk you away.